What's up? All right, it's my first time being live, multiple outputs, so bear with me if anything breaks. But I should be live vertical on TikTok and horizontal on Twitch and YouTube, so we're giving it a shot. Let's zoom in. Where's his letter? I was reading this letter from Senator Wyden to the Supreme Court, basically talking about how the court system got hacked recently, right? This is kind of a scathing letter. Let's read the summary real quick. So, blistering wide letter seeks review of federal court cybersecurity, citing incompetence and negligence. That's not good. We don't like incompetence or negligence. Just checking real quick, see if, yeah, okay. It looks like I am live on TikTok too. We shall see. Sorry, just moving windows around. I need bigger monitor setup. Let's go multi-stream chat. See, okay, got it. So yeah, citing incompetence, negligence. We don't like the sound of that. He seeks urged Chief Justice John Roberts to seek an independent review of federal court cybersecurity following the latest major hack. I covered this hack in a video, and I was like, hey, why isn't this bigger news? This seems like an absolute insane thing to have been hacked. It's the court e-filing system, right, is what's going on. And so I caught I was in Vegas when some of this news started to break, and I caught someone with a Pacer account, actually, like, that could show me behind the scenes of this stuff. And it was kind of wild to see, like, it's really like an antiquated system, complete antiquated system. It's like no wonder it got hacked kind of thing. Hey, if you're watching on TikTok, mind drop in a chat that you can hear me and that everything looks all right. This is the first time I'm using Streamlabs to stream to TikTok. So give me a thumbs up. Why don't I get... Okay, that's weird. I don't get TikTok chat in Streamlabs. That's annoying. So I have to keep a separate window open just for TikTok chat. Okay, I see you guys. Thanks. All right. I'll take questions and stuff. I'm just talking some news while I have it up and while people join. Glad it's working. I'm trying to go... I was trying to do this. This is the first time I'm like streaming from Streamlabs to YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. So that's why things look different. If you've watched me on live before, usually I'm just on my phone on TikTok, but I appreciate you. I've got the bigger layout over on YouTube and Twitch if you want to find me. All right, so this hack, it was in July. Well, July is at least when we found out about it, but it seems like this stuff had been going on for years. This is what they're saying, right? Is like they lurked in the system for years. Let's open this Bloomberg out. This is probably paywalled. Yep. Bloomberg paywall. Okay. Archive is down. All right. So screw that Bloomberg article. So the federal judiciary's current approach to information technology is a severe threat to our national security. The courts have been entrusted with some of our nation's most confidential and sensitive information, including national security documents that could reveal sources and methods to our adversaries, and sealed criminal charges and investigative documents that could enable suspects to flee from justice or target witnesses. Yet, you continue to refuse to require the federal courts to meet mandatory cybersecurity requirements and allow them to routinely ignore basic cybersecurity best practices. This is like the scathing. This is part of the letter that Wyden sent over there. And kind of insane, right? That something as important as our federal courts could routinely ignore basic cybersecurity best practices that are mandatory, by the way, right? Admin office said August 7th it was taking steps to improve cybersecurity in response to recent escalated cyber attacks of a sophisticated and persistent nature. Bull spit. Bull spit. Who believes that this was a sophisticated attack? This is blatant throwing around the word sophisticated to sound what? To sound like they didn't absolutely just suck it up? No, I call BS. BS. This wasn't sophisticated. Have you guys seen this system? It's called Pacer. If you're in chat and have ever seen Pacer, sound off. If you work in and around the courts, you've seen it. It looks like it was written in 1996 and has not been updated at all. All right, Wyden said in his letter the judiciary stonewalls congressional oversight. He cited another intrusion in 2020. I was talking about that one in my video too, revealed by 3 hostile foreign actors. Yeah, so what I was seeing was that there's actually some cybercrime people. Yeah, backend for Pacer is honestly, dude, like written in the 90s is not an exaggeration, right? It's insane. And so, what up, Roman? Yeah, Cyberscoop's not bad. Who wrote this? Tim Starks. I don't know Tim, but oh yeah, there he is. I don't know Tim, but yeah, Cyberscoop's pretty good. I met some of them in Vegas, kind of like old school journalist vibes, you know, not like me. I'm not a journalist. I'm a guy who yaps on the internet occasionally. So what I saw evidence of, so they're saying 3 hostile foreign actors, and I think that's maybe the 2020 incident. The recent stuff seems like it was cyber criminals hacking into this court system to check to see what was in the files about themselves and their friends, right? So it was like scattered spider people type thing, you know, or related, and they were pulling sealed case details about themselves or their homies. So not, you know, I don't know if they're calling those hostile foreign actors because some of those peeps are not live. Thanks, Roman. There's no legitimate need to keep Congress or the public in the dark about that incident so many years later. I strongly suspect that the judiciary is covering up its own negligence and incompetence, which resulted in the security vulnerabilities the hacker exploited. Yeah, we should have transparency here of like what this incident entailed versus me just like rambling about it, you know, 5 years later. The glacial speed with which the federal judiciary adopted this inferior cyber defense years after the government agencies and businesses have migrated to superior solutions highlights the fact that the judiciary's cybersecurity problem are not technical, but rather are the result of incompetence and the total absence of accountability. I think well said. I'm really glad, you know, I don't know much about Ron Wyden or Whedon, however you say his name. I don't know much about him or his policies or anything like that, but he is always the loudest voice in the Senate about cybersecurity type stuff. DDoS attack is distributed denial of service, basically pointing a bunch of traffic at something. So here's the actual letter from Wyden. I was thinking about doing this as a video, kind of going over what he's saying and the incidents involved. I probably will. That makes sense. Did JD Vance stop the UK? No. I don't think JD Vance had anything to do with that. So this is the actual letter. It says, in 2020, the federal judiciary's case management system was reportedly hacked by foreign adversaries. Staggeringly, this year, the same system has been hacked again by foreign actors, reportedly exploiting unresolved vulnerabilities that were discovered 5 years ago. In light of this, the most recent hack of the federal judiciary's case management system, I write to request that you commission an independent public expert review by the National Academy of Sciences of the two major security incidents, the judiciary's cyber practices and the judiciary's mismanagement of its own technology. The federal judiciary's current approach to information technology is a severe threat to our national security. I mean, that's the quote. That's the quote of the week right there, right? That's got to be the quote. All right, so this one thing about multi-streaming. So I'm streaming out of Streamlabs, and I don't get like a lot of information about the live. I just kind of have the chat. Volume's really low on YouTube. Thank you for letting me know. Let's see what I can do about it. Got a little knob here to up some gain. Let me know if that's any better or if it's too loud now on TikTok or something. I don't know. This multi-stream thing is weird. Appreciate the heads up. Let me know if it's any better. It's kind of ironic that legislators are barking at the judiciary for bad security. Yeah, totally. Judiciary can't spend money the legislators don't appropriate. That's a really good point, but I think maybe it's in the budget, right? But what this was saying, better on audio? Okay, cool. Cool. Thanks for the shout, YouTube people. What this was saying was, that's a really good point on the funds, right? Is like legislator holds the purse strings. I don't think this is a budget thing, right? Like nowhere do they say that they just don't have the money to do it, right? You continue to refuse to require the federal courts to meet the mandatory cybersecurity requirements. That's a good point, though. Yeah, what up, Seeknay? Sounds fine on TikTok. Okay, cool. So I don't think this is a budget thing. I completely agree that, like, the court doesn't control their own thing. But at least what they're saying, it seems like it's just straight negligence. And he's calling for a review, right, of these security incidents. Let's see if I was reading the news article. Let's read his actual letter. He might mention the budget. Current approach. This is the quote. I mean, this is the headline right here. Federal judiciary's current approach to information technology is a severe threat to our national security. I already read all that. Okay. Federal judiciary technology and cybersecurity policy is set by a committee of judges whose membership you have kept hidden from the public and who presumably have no technology expertise. Right there. There you go. So who cares about budget when the oversight is themselves, right? And we have no transparency or visibility into that group at all, right? So group of ancient judges is what I'm picturing, right? I don't know if I'm right, but I'm definitely picturing not exactly a group of, Gen Z cybersecurity experts or something like that, right? I'm picturing some group of old guys on a high holy council saying what they should and shouldn't do for cybersecurity. So the interesting part here is I know for a fact that like a lot of these people, a lot of these judges are so tech phobic that they don't even do a lot of it. They don't even use a lot of it themselves, right? They don't use any of this stuff. So what they're talking about is these federal like judiciary back-end systems like Pacer, right? That's what got hacked. Pacer got hacked. And it's ridiculous. Did you ever read the audit of the New York Department of Treasury by the comptroller, Vulnerability Everywhere? No, I haven't seen that audit, but I'm sure. Used to work IT and security in Minnesota courts, Supreme Courts. You have lots of thoughts. Okay, yeah, you've got way more inside baseball than I do on that. I just got a demo of Pacer and laughed my ass off at it, right? I was like, oh, this is not good. It is not good. the case management system used by the federal courts, this is Pacer, I think is what he's talking about. Well, there's two, right? There's Pacer and there's one other one. The case management system used by the federal courts has been hacked multiple times, in part because the system is insecure, antiquated, and expensive to operate. While the judiciary has solicited advice from leading government experts on establishing a modern, secure, and efficient case management system, the judiciary thus far has ignored that advice and has made no meaningful progress towards replacement. Serious problems in the judiciary's approach to cybersecurity have been able to fester for decades because the judiciary covers up its own negligence, has no inspector general, and repeatedly stonewalls congressional oversight. This cannot continue. The status quo cannot continue. So that's, yeah, I mean, that's nuts. I link a lot of this stuff in my newsletter. You asked for the links. I can't really put links on TikTok or Instagram or anything like that. Roman says, like the live since Matt isn't a course bro. Yeah. This is the only cybersecurity live on TikTok without a salary in the little label, right? Look how much money I make. Come listen to me and I'll teach you to make more money. Sorry, no hate. Whoever's out there helping people, but some people I don't think are actually helping people. All right. The judiciary has now repeatedly failed spectacularly in its obligation to safeguard the sensitive information it possesses. August 6th, this is the one I was talking about because it happened while I was in Vegas. Politico reported that the federal case management system was compromised by hackers. This is the one that I think, based on what we can see, it's cyber criminals looking up information about the cases on themselves, right? Documents related to criminal activity with an overseas tie across at least 8 district courts were initially believed to have been targeted. The hack should have never happened, according to a follow-up on the Politico story. The most recent hack exploited unresolved security holes discovered 5 years ago. So yeah, they keep talking about this incident in 2020, right? And then apparently it's like, this is a separate incident, but it's the same vulnerabilities. We have there is no transparency here. We don't have like a forensics report. You helped with the write-up on the Apple O-Day? Sweet. Which write-up? I did a video about that. The Image.io write-up? Chicago? He must be poor, yeah. I am kind of at this point because I'm trying to start my own company. I'm startup poor. I sold my car and everything. What are they doing about it, though? There's been so much convo about being negligent. Yeah, so, Keem, this is Wyden, like, writing to Chief Justice Roberts to be, like, publicly, to be like, hey, get off your ass. No NIST reports for the federal breach. Yeah. So, like, there's no... What is it? What's that? There's no 8K, right? There's no form that they got to fill out that they're like, hey, look at all the data we lost, and this is what's going on. Did they say what type of app, or was it the vendor? Matt, this is a direct breach of the e-filing system. This is like a direct breach of it. The system, as far as I've seen it called, is called Pacer, and then there's another one that I'm like blanking on the acronym for the other one. So it's not a vendor. This is just straight. They hacked into this ancient court system. The judiciary's aging case management software cannot be blamed entirely for these multiple hacks. Plenty of federal agencies use decade-old software. The key difference between the judiciary and these agencies is that executive agencies are subject to minimum federal cybersecurity requirements, while the federal judiciary has not adopted its own set of binding minimum cybersecurity standards that every federal court must follow. Instead, each of the 94 federal district courts and 12 courts of appeals can choose to adopt good or bad practices. This is a really good letter. A good example of these differences is the adoption of multi-factor authentication, a widely adopted cyber defense that protects against breaches, caused by hackers learning a target's password. Federal agencies have been required by federal law to use MFA since 2015. The Office of Management and Budget raised the bar in 2022, requiring agencies to use the most secure form of MFA, known as phishing-resistant MFA, so I'm guessing they mean YubiKeys. By contrast, the AO has only recently announced that it will finally be requiring MFA for access to the judiciary's case management system by the end of 2025. So this law came out in 2015, and the courts literally are just now announcing that maybe by the end of 2025, we will, is it even mandate? Okay, it does say requiring MFA for the access to the case management system by end of 2025. Listen, I know I am throwing stones from the cheap seats, right? But it's 2025. MFA. MFA. Just joined. Where do you pull your cyber news? That's kind of my gig now. I write a newsletter. I make all these videos. I put out a lot of cyber news. So I take in all cyber news. I've got like a bunch of RSS feeds. I've got some like AI agent helpers that kind of like, you know, help me see the stuff in like a Slack channel that I have set up. Just started your own company. Would love to give you my perspective. Yeah, what are you talking about? You wrote up the out of bounds vuln and now you started your own company? Yeah, tell me more. FedRAMP, it's going into law now because it takes over a year to get certified. Yeah. Monica, thank you. I should charge for access to my raw feed. Clearly, the judiciary should not have waited 5 years after 3 foreign adversaries hacked the case management systems to roll out such basic defense, but the form of MFA finally adopted by the judiciary is still not even phishing resistant and does not meet the federal industry standards. So not only federal agencies have been required by law to use MFA since 2015. In 2022, they raised the bar to phishing resistance. What they're talking about here is FIDO2 hardware keys, right? So not SMS tokens or app tokens. So 2015, the law, 2022, they raised the bar, said, hey, it's actually got to be phishing resistant. And the Office of the Judiciary, by the end of 2025, is requiring MFA, and they're not even doing the phishing resistant version. So guess what? The people that hacked this system do not care about your MFA token. Pretty trivially bypassed for them. You absolutely need the phishing resistant MFA. Like their main tactic for these groups is phishing. Like that's the absolute main tactic. Wild. You helped with the team, the write-up, not just me. Cool. Got a bit to work. See ya. Thanks for stopping by. FedRAMP compliance. What certs do I think are worth it? None. I don't like certs. Hi, is 1,000 USD reasonable for this kind of experience? If you think that you're going to come into a cybersecurity chat room and drop a link to a random Vercel app and that I'm going to click it, you out your mind. FedRAMP, you have to report in 24 hours. Actual government, you cannot patch for 5 years. Insane, right? To do business with the judiciary, you would need to meet such a crazy bar, right? Like FedRAMP type stuff. You'd have to clear an insane bar. But for the actual systems themselves, they don't even have MFA turned on. And they're just now turning MFA on, and it's still not even phishing resistant MFA. So, hey, I'm really glad Ron Wyden of Oregon, I thought he was Massachusetts, Ron Wyden of Oregon, I'm really glad that him or his staff, I don't know, right, are writing letters to the Supreme Court about phishing resistant MFA. You know what I mean? Like, heck yeah. That at least we have someone as high up as that is like sitting here singing the praises of FIDO2 MFA. Really, really glad to see that. All right. This is ridiculous. What else? All right. I mean, this is just more beating them up, right? The complete failure to address the problems after the 2020 breach, as well as the subsequent cover-up and stonewalling of congressional oversight, makes it clear that the judiciary and its policy-making arm, the Judicial Conference, are ill-equipped to diagnose and address their own problems. An independent public expert review is essential, not only because of repeated hacks, but also because the judiciary's subsequent lack of transparency. I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. For example, the judiciary still hasn't notified victims whose information was stolen in 2020. Insane. Insane, right? Like, absolutely bananas. Rules for you, not for me. Exactly, right? So if you have a customer that lives in Maine and you lose their information, you have to notify them like within hours of you knowing that you lost that customer in Maine's information. Yet the federal judiciary still hasn't notified victims whose incredibly sensitive court information was stolen 5 years ago. So like, we all know about it because we watch cybersecurity news and read cybersecurity news. But the people who their information was lost say they have no idea that this breach even happened. They don't even realize that they might be in danger. That's insane. Such a review is needed to rebuild the trust of litigators, parties, Congress, and the public. Moreover, while I would normally request the Department of Homeland Security Cyber Safety Review Board conduct such a review, having the executive branch review the judiciary cybersecurity could raise separation of powers issues. And regardless, President Trump fired the whole board on the second day of his administration and has not appointed new members. So I would normally request the Department of Homeland Security's cyber safety review, but Trump fired them all and hasn't appointed anyone new. Even if that wasn't a conflict of interest, they are toast. Isn't court info public, though? Matt, no, not all of it, right? You're talking confidential informants. You're talking all sorts of stuff behind the scenes that isn't public record court information. Like, this is like case filing software. Not all of it is public. I can try to bring up some of the stuff that was stolen. That was kind of insane. Everyone knows about your RICO case. Yeah, apparently. Worked FedRAMP product in incident response. Absolute headache. Don't envy you. I haven't touched FedRAMP in so many years. All right, this is kind of crazy. This is a crazy story. I think I should make a YouTube video about this whole thing. All right, what else? All right, this is another story I've been seeing a ton of chatter about in my kind of intel communities today. This just came out, right? That's today? Yeah. So widespread data theft. So guys, I can't share the URLs in chat, but like just Google the title, right? I always share the title in the beginning of my videos. Old mob informants. Yeah. No, there's whole levels of public-private info in court docs, private financial info, etc. Yeah, totally. Wonder if there's any fallout if this leads to murders or witness protection being found. Yeah, that's what like a lot of people are most concerned about. I think right now this was so targeted. Sorry, just bringing up the other one. I think this was so targeted that's why like nothing worse has happened yet. I think this was currently extremely targeted, and the cases that they were going after were extremely targeted. You know what I mean? So I don't think that this was a ransomware group or anything like that took the information and is now publishing it somewhere to do all this other stuff, right? That we would be worried about, going after people in witness protection or whatever it is. Right now, it was criminals who know how to hack, right? So I guess, cyber criminals, we can call them, who broke into the systems and found information about themselves and their homies and their cases, right? Honestly, it doesn't shock me at all. Government are underfunded on web dev and cyber. Yeah, for sure. So this one's kind of nuts. Widespread data theft targets Salesforce instances via SalesLoft drift. So I am going to learn about this one with you guys. I just saw a lot of chatter about this right as I was going live. And I don't know what SalesLoft drift is. Looks like it's a third-party application. Let's open this. Get out of here. Gosh, GDPR. Oh my God, really? I lost the webpage because I clicked do not sell my information. Oh, yeah. All right. SalesLoft, Drift, convert website visitors into pipeline. Okay. So it's this crap that you see everywhere, right? So by visiting this, I probably just got put into some system. So here's SalesLoft. So Google Threat Intelligence is issuing an advisory to alert organizations about a widespread data theft campaign carried out by the actor tracked as UNC 6395. Anyone better at remembering UNC names to other names? I don't remember that number right off hand. That's not Scattered Spider. That's not North Korea. Does anyone remember who that one is? Having met web devs and gov, lots of them are chilling all day. Yeah. I don't think it's the devs' fault on that judiciary stuff. It's just nuts. All right. I'll figure out who this threat actor is. I always forget Google's names. Beginning as early as August 8th through the 18th, the actor targeted Salesforce customer instances through compromised OAuth tokens associated with SalesLoft Drift. SalesLoft Drift sounds like the next Too Fast, Too Furious movie. Too Fast, Too Furious, OAuth token drift. The actor systematically exported large volumes of data from numerous corporate Salesforce instances. Not good. Google Threat Intel assesses the primary intent of the threat actor is to harvest credentials. After the data was exfiltrated, the actor searched through the data to look for secrets that it could potentially use to compromise victims' environments. Google Threat Intel observed them targeting sensitive credentials such as AWS, access keys, passwords, and Snowflake-related access tokens. They demonstrated operational security awareness by deleting query jobs. However, logs were not impacted, and organizations should still review relevant logs for evidence of data exposure. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people chat about this one. So, if you're a Salesforce shop, let's get to how you do some threat hunting here, because I think that a lot of people probably got impacted without realizing it. Threat actor executed queries to retrieve information associated with Salesforce objects, cases, accounts, users, and opportunities. That's super sensitive. Query to retrieve user data. So you could check your logs for these queries going on. Investigate for compromise and scan for exposed secrets. Rotate creds, harden access control, whatever. And here's some IOCs. Okay, this is a pretty short article. I feel like we're going to hear a lot more about this. SalesLoft indicated that customers that do not integrate with Salesforce are not impacted. That makes sense. There's no evidence indicating direct impact to Google Cloud customers. However, any customers that use SalesLoft Drift should also review their Salesforce objects. All right, I'm seeing a lot of chatter about this one, so I think that this is more serious than this little tiny blog post makes it seem. So I think this is going to be our threat intel share, and then we're going to see some news articles about this one if I'm a betting man. All right, what else do we got? Deception depth. So Google Threat Intel is a really good blog, by the way. This one came out yesterday. Super dense on information. PRC Nexus espionage campaign hijacks web traffic to target diplomats. And the chat empties out. I have no idea. I can't see how many of you are actually in chat right now for some reason in any of my info. But this is this is not a Gen Pop friendly title. Like, who cares? Who cares that China Nexus espionage campaign is hijacking web traffic to diplomats? Even though I find this super interesting. Someone keeps coming in my chat and asking about edge device stuff in China. So, yeah, I don't know. I see how many people have joined the entire time I was live. It's like 369, but I know for a fact that there's not 369 people in here. So, where do I get my cyber news? Everywhere. Everywhere. It's my job. Check my my newsletter, volnew.com. I share a lot of news. Off topic, what browser do you like using? I'm kind of all over the place right now. I was like a custom hardened Firefox guy for a long time. You know, Firefox with a bunch of custom settings and stuff. But they changed their privacy policy. Makes it look like they're about to start selling data. On mobile, I still like Firefox Focus on mobile. It's pretty good. At not like saving. Yeah, Brave I had some issues with years ago. I should bounce back and check out Brave. I try to avoid Chromium in general. And Brave is Chromium. Brave's like whole crypto adjacency turns me off. They're good for YouTube. I believe it. I know a lot of people are happy Brave users. I was really kind of cautiously optimistic about the wave of like premium browsers that are coming out, like Arc and what are the other ones? I don't know. That guy Theo, the YouTuber Theo, does like a bunch of reviews of some of these like premium browsers that come out that you have to like pay for. And I'm cautiously optimistic about that industry for two reasons. One, I would happily pay for a web browser because then that means that they're not selling my data, right? You don't have to pay for Chrome because Chrome makes, Google's an advertising company. It's like, that's what Google's business is, advertising, right? And so they are just a privacy nightmare, but their security is very good, right? They have a very good team making Chrome be, one of the most secure browsers. It's like least private, most secure, right? Is like how I would put Chrome. So the Chromium kind of forks do benefit from a lot of the security to the Chromium project, right? Firefox, on the other hand, completely unrelated. Mozilla's not as bad privacy-wise. They get 98% of Mozilla's budget comes from Google paying them to be the default search engine when you just type it in your URL bar, like, and hit enter. 98% of Firefox, like of Mozilla's budget, comes from that. They're trying to diversify. They've got all these little products that they're spinning out to try to make money in different ways. But, one check a year from Google is like their entire operating budget. But because of that, Google does all the they're paying for you to land on Google's websites, not for like hooks into Firefox's browser. So there's a lot of configs that you can set up, and I'm sure there's good guides online. I followed a guide from a channel called Extreme Privacy, a book called Extreme Privacy, like had a web browser hardening guide. Maybe I should make a video run through of all the different tweaks to the browser that you can make to like strip out some of the spyware-y stuff. Would you guys want that? Would you guys want like a whole video of like, here's how to set up a web browser? Hey, thanks for the gifts. Yeah, Zen was what I was thinking of besides Arc. Zen, Arc. There's like all there's kind of this new wave in the last like year, 18 months. All right, awesome, do it. All right. Like in the past year or 18 months, there's been this wave of like pay for this browser, and a lot of like nerdy people get into it. I would happily pay for a browser if it meant that I was not then the product, right? The problem is, this is why I'm cautiously optimistic. I was part of a company, a security company, that decided to try to put out a secure web browser. And it's basically Chromium with a lot of like defaults, right? It was Brave before Brave, right? And we were putting it out, and we thought we were going to like be like the corporate web browser, right? This company called White Hat. The browser was called Aviator. I was like doe-eyed. I was like a kid at this company. I had very little to do with Aviator, but my eyes got big. I was like, wow, yeah, how awesome that like not an advertising company would put out a web browser. How cool would that be? It was a disaster. The company just didn't put the right resources behind it, and web browsers are very hard. Web browsers by nature are executing other people's code on your machine, right? You all looking at a web browser, you didn't write any of that code, right? Like you're just executing the stuff on your machine. And so like by nature, there's like all sorts of risky like corners into this, right? And so if you don't do it right, if you like try to start a web browser business and don't put the resources into doing so securely, I mean, there's plenty of places to stub your toe, right? So that's what happened with the company I was at. Shut the project down. Google came after us hard. So what actually happened, and not to say that we were in the right at White Hat. And like I said, I had nothing to do with this damn company. I was 25 years old or whatever. Google's like hardcore like hacker research team like went on the offense and like found a bunch of vulnerabilities in our browser and like published it and just like lambasted us as whatever. The other hard part was the marketing team saying this was the most secure web browser on the planet. That was never the goal. It was supposed to be privacy, not security, right? And so that marketing tied to a few early vulnerabilities in some poorly written code by like overseas contractors. It was just a recipe for disaster. So like things like Arc and Zen, I'm like very optimistic, right? I think Island is another one, right? That like is like a corporate web browser that a lot of people like. I haven't really looked like under the hood of a lot of them. I'm happy they exist, pressuring kind of the free ones out there, right? Because the free ones, like that's how they make their money, right? I have to clip this. My browser rant. I'll just make a standalone video. I could talk about this all day. I've been thinking about this for many years, right? So, so the free browsers, I mean, Chrome straight up, they're just tracking you everywhere, right? Everywhere they're just tracking you. That's their thing. But it's a very secure browser. They have a huge security team. They pay millions of dollars in bug bounties if you can find a browser vulnerability that that escapes the Chrome sandbox. If you ever see like the $1 million thing, $2 million thing, that's they're only paying for a sandbox escape to do that. I found some vulnerabilities in Chrome OS, the very first version of Chrome OS. I found some vulnerabilities. They gave me $1,000 for my bug bounty. I said, why? I've got full man in the browser. I can open tabs, steal cookies. I can do everything in the browser. And they said, because you didn't escape the sandbox, and so this wouldn't survive a restart. It was like a web vulnerability, but it was Chrome OS had like all these extensions, and I found a vulnerability in an extension that was pre-installed. And I had like full man in the browser, 0 click. I could just take over your browser and steal a bunch of information. And they gave me $1,000 versus at the time, it would have been $65,000. Now that's probably $1 million bug bounty, right? And the reason that they didn't give me the 65K and they gave me 1,000 was because I didn't escape the sandbox. So Chrome sandbox escapes are one of the most valuable bugs on the internet, right? Because if you can get a Chrome sandbox escape, you have a Chrome 0 day. You can just by someone visiting your website or you sending someone to open something in their browser, you can escape the sandbox and compromise their machine, right? So Chrome has arguably the best sandbox because of all that attention. So they're very secure. But Google's entire business model is tracking your every move across the internet and selling it to advertisers. So Chrome's security team has like no sway over like the privacy of Chrome. Chrome's safe browsing team is fantastic. I know people that did that. So they're great at popping up alerts about known phishing sites or known bad domains. Like Google safe browsing, fantastic. Google sandbox, fantastic. But, they're just tracking your every move. They're an advertising company. So that's why I was always kind of like, I would always lean Firefox and like harden, like you can harden the Firefox settings under the hood and like rip out a bunch of stuff that like common vulnerabilities and tracking systems use. For a long time, the way I used the internet like was unusable to most people. I was like super paranoid. I was head of security for like a fintech startup. I was like really worried about like being targeted, all this kind of stuff. And so I was using a web browser that most people would look at and go, that's disgusting. I stripped out like all dynamic content. Like it was just text, right? I had to like click to even see images, right? So I was using a pretty weird web setup for a while. Sorry, I was talking about this China thing and someone asked me about web browsers and 10 minutes later, here we are. All right, so I don't know. I also haven't read this one yet. I'm reading it live, so I'm not sure what this is. But so it says it's details of an espionage campaign as well as the evolution of the threat actor's operational capabilities. Should I zoom in a bit on TikTok? Would that help? We examine how the malware is delivered, how the threat actor utilized social engineering and evasion techniques, and technical aspects of the multi-stage malware deployment. I still haven't figured out who this threat actor is. I don't really want to Google that live. The target's web browser tests the internet connection, is behind a captive portal. Okay, so wait. The malware payloads were disguised as either software or plugin updates and delivered through their infrastructure using attacker in the middle and social engineering techniques. The target's web browser tests if the internet connection is behind a captive portal. Attacker in the middle redirects the browser to the threat actor's controlled website. The first stage malware static plugin is downloaded. Static plugin then retrieves an MSI package from the same website. And then Canon Stager is DLL sideloaded and deploys. So target, captive portal check, adversary in the middle, messes with the captive portal, redirects it to the adversary site. So this is like the one thing, everyone like goes scary, public Wi-Fi, bad, use VPN, blah, 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 all this nonsense. Public Wi-Fi is fine. The only thing that you got to worry about, well, maybe not the only thing, the main thing you got to worry about on public Wi-Fi isn't you must use a VPN. You're not going to get anything like over VPN except for privacy, because your DNS queries are not over HTTPS, right? So you're just trading one company from another from knowing which websites you go to, right? But this is a thing, right? So if you connect to public Wi-Fi, they control the captive portal that pops up when you join. You've all seen this, right? You join at Starbucks, it pops up and says, do you accept the terms and conditions? You know, enter your email or whatever it is, and then you can connect to the Wi-Fi, the captive portal. The captive portal hijack is real, right? But a VPN won't protect you from this, right? VPN is just a tunnel. The captive portal is still the captive portal. So if you fall for social engineering of a captive portal, you're toast, VPN or not. So this is the one thing that you do have to like educate people on about public Wi-Fi is like, hey, don't like log in to your Gmail account on a captive portal. That's like never going to happen. There's not like a real captive portal out there that's going to tell you like, hey, log into Gmail. Right? A lot of them will ask for your name or room number or whatever if you're at a hotel, but none of them will be like, oh, go and here's a Google login page. Any idea what happened with the Nevada state government stuff? Vanessa, remind me. Sorry, I read a lot of news. Remind me. All right, so gstatic is a legitimate domain. Investigation recovered. Redirect chains this domain leading to the threat actors. So it sends you to a legitimate gstatic 204, but then redirects you to the thing, and then you get a fake plugin update, which I'm assuming you have to like agree to install. After being redirected, the threat actor attempts to deceive the target into believing the software update is needed. Yeah. So again, this is not like, ooh, scary public Wi-Fi. This is you fell for a captive portal redirect and a fake software update. I mean, it's good. It's talented phishing. It obviously works. The landing web page resembles a legitimate software update, uses HTTPS, valid TLS cert. Yeah. So I mean, they're not rookies. Oh, additional plugins are required to display the media on this page. Install the missing plugins, and that's how they get in. That's pretty good. Thanks for downloading. Malware analysis. Malware does a bunch of stuff. I don't really want to read malware analysis on the stream right now. Code execution. But what I wanted to read was who they were targeting. Yeah, backdoor. Got it. Persistence, data exfiltration, all the normal malware stuff. So 6384 is a People's Republic of China Nexus cyber espionage group believed to be associated with PRC Nexus threat actor temp.hex, also known as Mustang Panda. Oh, okay. I still wouldn't have recognized that name. Hey, thanks, Roman. With all respect, I have a question. I don't have any knowledge about CS, but I'm really into. You didn't need to say with all respect. You didn't say anything mean. Thanks for the follows and stuff. Appreciate you. I wouldn't have known Mustang Panda off the top of the head. Our attribution is based on similarities in tooling, TPPs, targeting, and overlaps in C2 infrastructure. Temp-Hex are both observed to target government sectors, primarily in Southeast Asia, in alignment with PRC's strategic interests. Both groups have been seen observed to deliver this malware with a DLL sideloaded thing. All right. Worth reading. What else do I got today? Oh, this was a gnarly one. Not good. Purdue Professional Certifications Program in CS Works. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I can't recommend like a specific college program or certification or anything like that. I'm not a big certification fan in general. I mean, yeah, go to college. College is great. I can't like tell you if a particular college's program is any good. I do know the one exception to that is I know for sure the NYU cybersecurity program was like built and is like continued to be advised on by some of the best cybersecurity people I know in New York City. So NYU is the only one that I can like say. That doesn't mean they're the only one. It's just the only one that I know people that help build that program. Is it worth it to take the certificate program in cybersecurity with them? I don't know. Is NYU super expensive? Crap. I didn't know that. MIU. I don't know what MIU is. Sorry, I can't answer like the is it worth it. If you have no knowledge, like, yeah, go acquire some knowledge. Don't go into a crazy amount of debt for it. But, yeah. Yeah, what up, Canada? Purdue is 3K. Cool. What's your personal favorite cybersecurity industry or team? What do you mean? Fire? If you're such a cybersecurity expert, why aren't you working? It's 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. Such a good question. Oh, it's such a good question. So I left my protect a company security day job to do this kind of stuff. So you are looking at me working at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. Oh, man, that's so funny. So accurate. I do have to get off in a little while for a few more meetings this afternoon. But I had like a 2-hour chunk. And I was like, let's do it. He's basically unemployed. I wish, man. If AI could take my job, whew, put me out back. What about DevOps to cyber? It's a great transition, if that's what you mean. I always loved hiring engineers, DevOps engineers, cloud security, like cloud engineers to security people. It's like such a good skill set that a lot of cybersecurity people don't have. So if you know enough about security and a lot about DevOps, oh boy, do I love you. Hey man, could you go over your path to where you are now? Sure. I guess. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Thoughts on SANS threat intel course. SANS is just too expensive. They have a lot of really good teachers. If I would never pay for a SANS thing by myself, but if my company was sending me, cool. They've got a lot of really good instructors over there. The certificate probably isn't worth too much to you, but like the knowledge you gain at the class from a good teacher is probably pretty good. DevSecOps is a good field. Yeah, absolutely. My path. So I knew I wanted to get into cyber forever. Was in college in the early 2000s in computer science because cybersecurity degrees or even like courses in college didn't even exist at the time. Was working help desk at the university. When you said MIU, I never said MIU. I said NYU, New York University. NYU. And I got out of college, and the story that I tell of like why I like tell people, hey, it doesn't matter if you don't know anything, if you're broke or you don't have certifications or if you don't have whatever. I graduated. No one was hiring. Financial crisis. I was in New York City. I wanted to get to a conference the first conference that was like a big cybersecurity conference that was happening post me graduating college was called ShmooCon. It was in DC. And I was on Twitter at the time, like an early version of Twitter. There's a bunch of security people on Twitter. I saw that a bunch of them were going. I was like, I got to go meet these people. And a group of them from Boston, like cybersecurity leaders in Boston, were renting an RV to go down to DC to go to ShmooCon. And I said, hey, I wrote them on Twitter and I said, hey, are you taking I-95 in that RV? And they said, yeah. I said, if I can get to I-95 in New Jersey, can you pull over and pick me up? And they said, yeah. And so I got into an RV with Jack Daniel, founder of Security B-Sides, Chris Hoff. He was like, I don't know, CISO, something, Cisco, Juniper, whatever. I wound up working with him at Bank of America years later. I don't know. There was like 5 or 6 guys in there. Space Rogue was like early Loft guy, like legendary cybersecurity people were in this RV. They pulled over in Hoboken, New Jersey, picked up little 22-year-old me, and drove me to DC. So I got to like spend, 4 or 5 hours with these guys. And so I got to like walk into the conference and people were like, you were on the Shmoo bus? They called it the Shmoo bus. And I was like, yeah. And I told them this story and they liked it. I-95 is the interstate that goes all along the East Coast. And then, so I went to ShmooCon. I got a free ticket for ShmooCon. I crashed on a friend's floor. He was a friend from college who moved to DC for a job. He was like renting part of an apartment loft, like from an old lady who also lived there. And there wasn't even there was one of those weird accordion separators. So like I literally slept on his floor. He didn't even have a couch for me to sleep on. I got a free ticket to the conference. I got like new shoes because I was like so embarrassed of my sneakers. I got new shoes and I didn't break them in. And I was like walking all over the city because I didn't have money for cabs. And so my shoes, like my feet were bleeding from new shoes because I had no money. And then, I met some people at that conference that gave me my first couple jobs, right? Like little consulting gigs. They just like admired that I was there and I was going to these parties and going to these whatever. And, I was like, hey, I don't have any money, but like, can I buy you a beer or is there a free beer that I can go get you or whatever it was? And I met a few people. Some of the guys I met there ran this blog called Liquid Matrix Security Digest. So I started like writing blogs for them. And then we wound up doing a podcast together years later. So yeah, that's my like got into cyber story. I just got like a few little contract gigs from that. And then I did the same thing for DEF CON and Black Hat. So that was in January. And then DEF CON and Black Hat happened in like July, August or whatever. And so this was my first Vegas post graduating 2008. I was like, all right, so same thing. I got to like save up a few bucks and go to DEF CON. And I stayed at some off strip, like don't look at the bed too closely type of hotel. Walked my ass through 119 degree heat to the conference because I couldn't afford a cab. Miserable. And then, yeah, went to like Black Hat and stuff. And the Monday of Black Hat, a bunch of those people that I had met on the RV and just people that I was talking to on Twitter and stuff that I hadn't met at ShmooCon yet, but they did go out to Vegas. On Monday at Black Hat, they would all meet up and smoke cigars together. And so I went to this little cigar meetup, and at that cigar meetup was, I think I calculated it, like 70% of people that have ever got me a job I met, or maybe it was like half of people that ever got me a job were at that cigar meetup in my entire career. And then later that week, I met like 2 other people that like would wound up getting me more jobs. So between the first 2 conferences I ever went to in my career, I met everyone that would ever hire me for 18 years. So when I tell people learn shit, do shit, and then go out in the world and meet as many people as you can, do it. I know I'm speaking from a place of privilege because this was like early 2000s. The industry was smaller, but I've seen it still work today for sure. So anyway, then I started pen testing. I got a job from someone I met in Vegas doing some pen testing. Did all that, then specialized in AppSec pen testing. I had a company called White Hat. They're the ones who moved me to Texas. That's why I'm in Texas. You're going to Shadowscape local conference. Hopefully your story starts like yours. Hell yeah. That's it. Just have to dive in to succeed. Yeah. So this is why I try to shoo people away from thinking too much about certifications. Everyone comes in here and starts asking about certifications. And I'm like, no, stop it. If you're fighting the apply button on LinkedIn versus 800 other people that click the same button on the same day, and you're hoping that a security plus on your resume is going to like do anything for you, you're fighting losing battle, right? If you're pushing that button at all, like you're fighting a losing battle. So that's why, I tell people, hey, just like get your hands on as much as you can, learn in public, learn out loud. Even if you don't want to make videos or blogs or whatever, just like try to do something that you can point to that isn't your resume. Be like, oh, look, I did this thing. And then just go meet people. I'm in Austin. 100 people have applied. I usually skip the job. Yeah. I mean, 100 is nothing. Like every time I listed a job on LinkedIn when I was hiring, when I was at Reddit, we would get thousands of clicks. I mean, Reddit was a pretty big name, but what if you're a student who wants an internship? There isn't much out there right now. Every intern I've ever hired was like through the university having a relationship with my company to like place interns. So if you're a student at a college, I would try to figure out who your university has a relationship with to get like placed as an intern somewhere. That's every intern I've ever hired was not via like job applications. It was always via some like recruiter relationship with a local university to one of our offices or something like that. Most of those were, yeah. I mean, you're laughing, but like every blue teamer I know is dealing with a North Korean. Every blue teamer I know is dealing with a North Korean in their recruitment pipeline for sure. Hey, thanks for the likes and follows and stuff. If I answered your question or anything like that, just tippy tap the screen. Really helps get this out. I have no idea how many people are even in here. I'm streaming through Streamlabs. It does not tell me how many people are in there. How dumb is that? But appreciate likes and shares. Any good recommendations for sales roles currently with an enterprise browser? We were just talking about enterprise browsers. Are you with Island? I'm about to do some work with them on some YouTube stuff, I think. What kind of sales roles are you looking for? I mean, every cybersecurity startup goes through salespeople. You're finishing up a contract in the Army, graduate from WGU in December. I get a lot of WGU people in chat. I don't know anything about WGU, but man, are all of you on TikTok. What do you recommend to study to get into cyber while you're going to deployment? I really like detection engineering right now. Study anything. I don't know what you want to do. Depends on how you want to spend your day. But when people ask for a specific topic, I say detection engineering. What would you recommend a recent grad, 23 with a similar background with you at 22 with 2 intern? Sorry, I think you ran out of characters. Try to rephrase. What do you mean? What do I recommend? You'll be a HUSEC Canada? Yeah, I think I'm speaking, question mark? I'm doing something with HUSECCon. Shadow, yeah, cool. Yeah, message me. I think I have a meeting with them for a demo. I don't know anything about Island, but I have a demo scheduled soon to maybe kind of review some stuff in like a YouTube video or something. They're doing like a big influencer push, I guess. IT for a year, bachelor's in cybersecurity, security plus, and labs. Do I have a chance? Yeah, of course you have a chance. What do you mean do you have a chance? You're good. Just started your bachelor's in cyber intelligence this week. Hopefully all goes well. Good luck. Currently working as a QA automation engineer. I know a ton of people that went from QA automation into cybersecurity. What's the easiest role to get into cyber? Currently going for SOC. Yeah, I guess. Ew. Where did this message come from? Oh, that's Twitch. My first Twitch message of the day is a bot promoting some streamer bot thing. People can't find me on Twitch very easy. I don't know what the easiest role to get into with cyber is. SOC's probably up there. My general recommendation to a lot of people like looking to break into the field. Then we're going to get back to the news. My general recommendation to people trying to break into the field who have no experience whatsoever is to, if you're like not even sniffing experience yet, what I tell people that I don't hear a lot of other people say, because like you can get advice anywhere, so I'm not gonna like repeat all the basic advice of like, yeah, go do desktop support or whatever. Yeah, it's good advice. One of the things that I like to tell people is go look at a company that you might want to work for and like they're on their security team doing security stuff. Like, so if they're a security company or if they're a company that you would want to be on their security team because you think that it would be cool for whatever reason, try to get hired at that company doing anything is really good advice. I've seen literally the social media manager of a security company that I worked for transition to the technical team and now like runs the bug bounty practice at a large like Fortune 10 company, right? And they were like our social media manager at a security company I worked at. I've seen customer support people switch from literally answering phones and like creating tickets like to the technical team. Because once you're in the door, you can go get lunch with these people. You can just be like, hey, can I come sit near you and like shadow you? If you're remote, you can ping them on Slack and be like, hey, I'm really interested in what your team is doing. I'm on the sales team over here. Really interested in what you guys are doing. You mind if I like spend a morning with you and like whatever? That's like, I've seen that work so many times. I've seen salespeople transition to technical security roles. I've seen engineers like at companies. I loved stealing engineers. So you work at Marriott in sales with software development degree. Yeah. Can you go hunt down the engineering teams at Marriott and be like, yo, I've got experience here. I would love to like sniff what your day is like. I keep using the word sniff. I should stop using the word sniff. But like, can you go over there and be like, hey, what are you doing? You know? I used to just walk my ass into meetings that I never was invited to. And unless someone kicked me out, if someone was like, hey, why are you here? I'd be like, oh, I just want to listen. And like, I don't think I ever got kicked out unless it was like something super sensitive or something. I would just like look around and be like, oh, they're talking to Sony. They're trying to sell to Sony. That's a big deal. I want to sit in on the Sony sales meeting and hear what we're pitching to Sony about. Like, or whatever it was. I used to just like listen in on those meetings when I was like doing pen tests. Like I had no business being in the room. All right, let's look at this phone. Sorry, I went full chat for a while on TikTok. So the YouTube video is going to get pretty boring here for a little while because I don't think that YouTube can see the TikTok chat for some reason. Streamlabs Streamlabs multi-stream is working, and I got multi-stream chat in Streamlabs showing up on that feed, but it's only showing YouTube and Twitch chat on the screen there. It's not showing TikTok chat. So I have like a whole nother window for TikTok chat. Kind of interesting. I don't know. I got to figure this out. This is the first time I'm doing this multi-stream thing, so checking it out. Hey, thanks for the follow on Twitch. Okay, so CISA warns of an actively exploited Git code execution flaw. So this headline scares the crap out of me. I haven't read this article yet, so blind react, ready to go. CISA, if you guys don't know, U.S. Cybersecurity Agency has been gutted in the recent administration. Think of them what you will. Obviously, this is a dumb move. The agency has added the vulnerability to Kev, known exploited vulnerabilities. Git version control library, is behind GitHub and GitLab and Bitbucket. Yep. Exploited vulnerability in Git has a high severity score. Whoa. Tracked as the CVE. It stems from Git's mishandling of a carriage return character in configuration files. A mismatch in between how Git writes and reads these characters causes incorrect submodule. This is really detailed. Attackers can exploit this issue by publishing repositories with submodules ending in a carriage return and a crafted symlink with malicious code hookup, leading to arbitrary code execution on the machines of those who clone them. Okay, so that's the exploitation path. I wonder if this would include... I wonder if this would also impact includes, right? So if you don't clone the malicious repo, but if you clone a repo that has this as a include, you know what I mean? Like if package.json supply chain type stuff is impacted here. I'm curious. If updating is not, okay, so Git needs to be updated. If updating is not possible, the recommendation is to avoid recursive submodule clones. Oh, well, that's what it is. It's talking submodule, right? For untrusted sources, disable Git hooks globally, enforce audited submodules. Along with the Git flaw. Does anyone else think GitHub should do more for us instead of just this crap? Like, why is this on me? Like, GitHub should check for all repos that are using this and nuke them. Along with the Git flaw, CISA also added some other new Kev catalog stuff. Citrix having a bad year. Active Directory. So a bunch of Kev updates, but this Git one seems spiciest. That's a Privesk. And okay. Well, that's interesting. All right, here's another one. I find these kinds of stories fascinating. That a lot of people that are in like crypto cybercrime are getting into real crime, are getting into violence. Who saw that streamer in Houston house get raided because they were trying to steal her Bitcoin? I forget the name of the streamer, some popular streamer. And their house got raided. So this is always nuts to me when these gangs go kinetic, I guess you could say, right? When they start like breaking into people's houses and all this kind of stuff. That's never good. So Remy Ross St. Philly led a vicious international crime ring. Okay, so a violent home invader at gunpoint cryptocurrency thief will now spend more than 50 years behind bars after being found guilty of assaulting a witness. Well, that's not good. 25-year-old sentenced to 50 years. He was sentenced to an additional 6 years and 10 months last week following an assault on a witness who testified against him at trial that related to a string of vicious robberies. West Palm Beach, Florida. Oh, Florida man attacks people over crypto. Was found guilty of all 9 counts related to his role as a ringleader in an international crime gang, as well as reported last year was sentenced to 47 years behind bars. The court heard. All right, so what did he do? One case involved assaulting an elderly couple and restraining them with zip ties and demanding they empty their crypto wallets containing assets of 150 grand into his own. Wait a second. Whose grandpa has 150K of crypto? Chat, are we out there? We out there? We doing it? That's insane to me. Okay, so the guy and accomplices approached the couple's house under the guise of pipe inspectors. Carrying out checks, they forced their way in, dragged the woman by her legs into the bathroom, forced the man to allow one of his collaborators to remotely connect to the home iMac. That tells you everything you need to know. When's the last time you saw an iMac? And drain their Coinbase account. That's wild. So one thing I'm wondering is how they knew that this couple had this Coinbase account. Unless it was from that breach against Coinbase's like help desk that tied them to like their actual physical name and address and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. All right. Well, I'm glad that, I mean, he got some serious time. This is like heinous, right? According to the Justice Department, time of the attack, the witnesses were shackled and seated in the detention center's booking area. St. Felice was freed from his holding cell and landed a series of punches on the witness's head, face, and body. Okay, so this is what the article is about. This guy getting 6 more years because he attacked the witness. He was also said to have called his mother and girlfriend after assaulting, gloating what he had done. Dang, homie. All right. I find this whole trend very interesting, though, right? Like crypto thieves, Coinbase thieves, got it, check. But like, it's starting to bubble up into the real world, right? All right. Those were all the stories, I think. Oh, no, I had one more. This was in one of my threat intel feeds today. Everyone know what SSRF is in chat? I declared SSRF public enemy number 1 when I was leading up AppSec at Reddit because we kept having to deal with it. It was freaking everywhere. Server-side request forgery. So this is full Docker escape on Windows Docker desktop. Sometimes bugs don't need to be that complicated. Yeah, SSRF is kind of a common web bug. I'm guessing this by this title, they're using a common web bug to do some gnarly on-device stuff. Full Docker escape from Docker desktop. An SSRF or a simple web request from any container was enough to fully compromise the host of the container. Jesus, that's wild. New one you're working. 7775, is that this one? No. What is that, Canada? Was that one of the ones that was just in Kev? No. A new Citrix one? Or Citrix, is that still Citrix Bleed? No, the Citrix ones for Kev are 2024 that are now known exploited. New Citrix just today? Oh my gosh, man. So not only did they have Citrix Bleed 2, and now they've had 2 vulns added to Kev yesterday from 2024 that are now being exploited. There's a new one today. That's a bad time. Did you see the Fortinet SQL injection? Hold on, let me pull that up. Hold on. Fortinet, first of all, Fortinet's just been like vulnerability producing machine for a while, right? But I saw a bug yesterday, and I saw the code. Here it is. Let me pull this onto the shared browser. Can you see this? Just want to open this image real quick and zoom in. Can you read it? What up, Seeknay? Yes, SQL injection in 2025. Not just for such a big company. Look at this. Is that big enough on screen? Is that big enough on screen? This is literally in a WAF. Not really big enough. How about now? I can't really get the whole thing on the screen then. Come on. This is like textbook SQL injection. This was a production line of code in a security appliance. This was in Fortinet that just got discovered recently. Even ChatGPT doesn't make these mistakes. Exactly. Everyone's worried about vibe coding. You know what vibe coding would never do? Can you believe this? Select ID from Fabric user table where token equals, and then this is user input token. You wouldn't even need to do a hard SQL injection here. I'm pretty sure literally end quote, parentheses, semicolon. Right there. It's kind of nuts, right? This is Rob Graham says, in 2025, there's no excuse for any product to pass tokens into SQL statements like this, much less a security product. Fortinet, a cybersecurity company, has become famous over the last several years for its security flaws. Wait, let me close the picture so you guys can read it a little bit better. There you go. An occasional flaw is forgivable, but this line of code shows they aren't even trying. And like the tweet he's quoting, not because it's another Fortinet remote bug, because it's SQL injection in a WAF. You need to WAF your WAF. The thing about this flaw is it's incredibly easy to reverse engineer. Such examples, all the strings of the target executable. I've been bitten by this before. Companies need to reverse engineer their products before the same products. Jim Manico, one of the best AppSec people on the planet. I've had the pleasure of working with Jim a bunch. He says, this is one of the most common AppSec security vulnerabilities. Using parameterized queries is a very straightforward way to fix this. Also, SaaS tools find this easily. So the developer working on a core security product is making a basic secure coding mistake and is likely not using any static analysis tools. This is straight up negligence of basic code and security duty. I would be happy to teach this team for free for a few hours just to spread a little awareness. Jim charges like 5 figures a day for secure coding training. He's one of the best in the industry. And he's like, yeah, this is ridiculous. They probably copy and paste that code from home routers. Yeah, geez. Is this a developer issue, a pipeline issue, a culture issue? They're on the news quite a bit. Seeknay, I have no inside knowledge baseball of what's going on over at Fortinet. Thank you for the roses, whoever just sent them. User, blah, 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 blah. I have no like inside baseball of what's going on over here. But like Jim points out, this is like the most basic of basic, right? He's like, this is stuff we taught. Like you don't even see non-parameterized queries in stuff anymore, right? Like that's just not the way to write SQL queries anymore. And then, like he said, even basic, static analysis tools are just historically bad, but even like a basic old static analysis tool would have caught that bug. Kind of nuts. All right, well, I was reading this SSRF one. Kaneda, you distracted me. Let me know what that Citrix bug is you're working to. This sounds interesting though. A Docker desktop, a Docker escape. So a simple SSRF web request, which means it's super easy to exploit. One HTTP request, and they were able to break out of the container and fully compromise the host with a web request into a Docker container is kind of insane. Replicate similar issue on Mac, and this is why we share the CVE. The link can be found. Okay, so he found it on Windows, and then this other guy, Philippe, found it on Mac. It was a mistake. He found it by mistake. I feel like this should have been caught in multiple places. A lot of things not happening here. Exactly, Signe, right? Exactly. Like how many different things had to go wrong to not catch like the most basic SQL injection possible. I did not know much about container separations and the implications since I found out a couple years ago that one of the major VM softwares lets you poke the localhost interface from any VM in a default configuration. I'd become pretty paranoid. I was scanning my container environment, and while I was at it, I was scanning the documented Docker private network that is found in the configurations. That's where I found the exposed Docker API port. It's as simple as that. The POC, the entire exploit takes 2 post requests from inside any container. Post a JSON payload to containers create, binding the host to the C drive to a folder in the container. So a mounted folder in the container, got it. In the container, and using the startup command to write or read anything under that, and then post to containers the ID and start to launch the container and start the execution. That POC would fully work from an SSRF. You technically do not need code execution on the container. Well, that's pretty freaking gnarly. Is this patched? I got to check. Do I need to learn coding to get into cybersecurity? No, you don't need to, but I'm never going to be the creator that tells you not to learn coding. Coding's a superpower. Especially with AI coding agents, it's even easier now to like sling some code, but you still got to know what you're doing. I would recommend knowing what you're doing. Really hard to be on a security team and tell the team how to secure themselves if you have never written a line of code yourself. Pastor Cisp, congrats. Quick, what kind of fire extinguisher do I need in my data center? I don't know. I'm just kidding. In the UK, we've had a company called APCS be compromised, leaking passport numbers to users. Great. VPNs are honeybots. Yeah, I hate the VPN industry. You will not find disagreement for me. Hey, Matt, working towards cybersecurity degree. Any advice for someone who's not technical? I mean, figure out how you want to spend your days. Cybersecurity is a broad word, and then go deep on that topic that you've found some passion for and get technical. Not technical is a spectrum. Get technical. You have unlimited free information at your fingertips. Don't go pay for a cert or a course or anything. Just figure out what you want and go down the rabbit hole. No bug bounty for Docker. What? He gets merch for that? Oh, this is AI generated. He's kidding about the merch. All right. Click me for proof. Do we click this link, guys? I guess. YOLO. YOLO, do it for the stream. All right, this is going to be really... It's small on my screen. It's going to be really small on TikTok. I can't even zoom in, guys. Sorry. He's just showing the host name there. I'm guessing the HTTP request got sent. And he's showing that he's writing to the host machine. He just wrote that file to the host machine. Yeah. Kind of hard to see POC, but it's going to have to be a trust me bro situation. PSC can be executed from any container. Interesting. Why do you hate VPN companies? Well, first of all, most of them are full of crap. All right. Caveat. I hate VPN companies that their entire marketing hinges on they are security. They're adding security to you. VPNs are not security tools. Maybe they were 15 years ago. HTTPS exists everywhere now. So VPNs are not encrypting your web traffic in a way that HTTPS is not. They are privacy tools, and they are tunnels, right? So you can make your traffic appear from somewhere else. So privacy meaning you're now trading who can see what websites you go visit from your internet service provider to the VPN's internet service provider and the VPN company. Because really all they can see is DNS queries. You have HTTPS everywhere, so you can go on public Wi-Fi all day, every day, log into your bank all day, every day. You will not get, like, no one can steal your credentials, right? HTTPS exists. There's no downgrade attacks anymore. If you're on a modern device on a modern web browser, you're good, right? VPN companies, like that's their entire marketing, right? Is like public Wi-Fi is a hacker's playground. Buy this VPN. It's garbage. Caveat, someone in chat told me to check out Mulvad VPN a while ago, and their entire marketing page has nothing to do with security. It all talks about privacy. So props to them and their marketing. All right, what else? This is some of my RSS stuff. I've got a lot, but pull up some more news. All right. Malware apps in Google's Play Store scored 19 million downloads. Well, that's not good. Cloud security vendor Zscaler says customers of Google's Play Store have downloaded some 19 million instances of malware-laden apps and evaded the web giant's security scans. Yeah, it's really easy to get a malicious app into the Google Play Store. It's much harder to get it into the Apple App Store. Google's Play Store, you can kind of throw whatever up there. They do take stuff down fast once they're like know about it, but it's not that hard to get something up there. So there's like way more malware that makes its way into Google's Play Store. Threat Labs spotted and reported 77 apps containing malware, many of them purporting to be utilities or personalization tools. So this is like one of the things that we see a lot right now is like apps coming to the table with like a legitimate purpose, right? It's like, oh, it's like a PDF converter or something like that. And it actually works as intended, but it's also malware. So what would you say is the best practice to protect your PC from malware? If you're talking Windows Defender is good enough in terms of like antivirus software. The rest of it is just like keeping everything up to date, keeping your operating system up to date, keeping your web browser up to date, and not, installing random stuff. I know it's like weird advice, but install from trusted sources whenever possible. What's SYBAU? I don't know what that means. Many contain an updated version of the Anats. Oh, I did a whole YouTube video about this banking Trojan. You can go check that out. I think the video is called "Is Everything Malware" or something like that. I did see Nissan got hit by Qlin, or however you say that. I did see that. What got stolen? It looked like some weird subsidiary though, right? Like dealerships are fine. It didn't look super spicy. Many contain an updated version of the NASTA. Zscaler thinks it's being used to target 831 financial institutions globally and crypto exchanges and regular banks. Yeah. We don't have examples here. Do I got to click on the Zscaler thing? Zscaler blog. I would like some examples. Oh, document. I've done a video on this. This isn't new. August 21st. Why'd this come out this week? I did a video on this app. And an NASA. Did Zscaler find anything new and different? I did a whole video about that app was like the flagship of what I was seeing. Oh, they're just kind of talking about trends in the Play Store and how Play Store is just got a ton of malware. Adware is like the most popular. All right. Yeah, some server from Creative Box. Yeah, that's what I thought. Nissan, it wasn't like users or employees or something. It was like a weird one. How can an iPhone 15 Pro Max can be hacked or installed spyware and malware physically or remotely? 0 days exist. Unless you're a politician, political activist, journalist, or otherwise, you are probably not someone that they are burning Pegasus or Paragon 0 days against. Sorry, my second monitor just disconnected, so I can't see the screen that you guys can see me sharing. I'm glad it's still just sharing that screen, though. Good to know. Do I get my monitor back, please? Is it available on the public market? Oh, now I see. You're asking because you want to do it, not because you're worried about protecting yourself. I see. That's a very different question that I care less about. What is going on? Yo, Bluetooth is... I should not be using a Bluetooth. I'm using an iPad as my second monitor is my problem. I should... Ugh, what is going on? Okay. Nope, still not working. All right. Might have lost my monitor. That's weird. A school for associates in InfoSec, any advice? Yeah, lean into everything your school possibly offers for everything. If they've got internship programs, if they've got whatever, lean into everything they could possibly offer you. All right, what's going on with the iPad? It's got plenty of battery. It's on the Wi-Fi. Come on. Let's go. There we go. Okay, I got my screen back. Is Pegasus similar or state-level spyware available? Can you explain what you're asking about iPhone 0 days? Is it worth getting an IT job while in school? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I used to run the help desk at my school. That was an awesome experience. Yeah, Canada, that's I started the stream on the Mustang Panda report. Were you in here when I was talking about that? Was that this one? The sales force, sales drift, something or other. No. It's this one. The PRC Nexus espionage. You weren't here? Yeah. I read through this one. Both of these are kind of spicy from the past 2 days from Google Threat Intel. This sales loft. How come my brain sees this and still sees Salesforce? Like these two words look the same in my brain until I really look at it. The Salesloft Drift one is the one I've been seeing a bunch of chatter about. This was put out today on the Google Threat Intel blog. But then, yeah, I did read the Mustang Panda one, too, that was put out yesterday. I started the stream on these two blogs. Yeah, this is a pretty gnarly one. It's like a captive portal gstatic redirect. So that's a legit domain. Redirects to their malicious domain, and then you get the little this, right? You get the little additional plugins are required. Shiny hunters, yeah. Yep. Bad time for everybody. Bad time for everybody. Your iPhone's spying on you. I changed everything for my iPhone. No, I almost certainly don't think that if you were a victim of Pegasus or Paragon, you don't know which methods the criminals are using. I highly doubt. Restart your phone. Turns out malware is bad at surviving a restart. But everyone who's ever said their phone was hacked to me was incorrect. I'm also in school for your associates, no job experience. Trying to land an entry. Yeah. Just keep meeting people. Started masters in cyber, haven't had much IT experience in undergrad. Should go help desk. Yeah, help desk is a great path. There's many paths. Help desk is a good one. All right, that Google malware story was weird because, oh, this one was interesting. I read this Gray Noise report about RDP auth servers. This was like strictly to the US too. So a huge break from norm. Well, hold on, I want to find the Gray Noise post, not the Bleeping Computer post. Yeah. So Gray Noise has like a bunch of honeypots and sensors across the internet, and they publish a bunch of data. Huge fan of them and what they do for the internet. So 2,000 malicious IPs probe Microsoft RDP in a single day. So not probing 2,000 IPs, 2,000 malicious IPs started probing remote desktop. Which is a big shift from the norm. So hours after publishing this blog, Gray Noise identified a much larger wave of 30,000 unique IPs simultaneously triggered both by Microsoft RD Web Access and RDP Web Client, largely from the same client signature behind the August 21st spike. So they put this whole report together about this August 21st spike, and then like 15 times bigger one came through on the 24th. So they just run these like sensors, right? So this is like going back to May. It's hard to see, I'm sure. But like going back to May, you can see this graph is flatlined of unique IPs observed scanning for RDP. And then boom, 30,000. Boom, 30,000. Sudden surge. The vast majority previously observed and tagged as malicious simultaneously. So these are known malicious IPs for the most of them. So they're owned, basically. These are like devices that are probably compromised and are being used in botnets, probably rented, right? The wave's aim was clear: test for timing flaws that reveal valid usernames, laying the groundwork for credentials-based intrusions. Interesting. So the normal baseline's 3 to 5 different IPs a day hit these tags, then boom, 1,900, and then a few days later, 30,000. Every IP on one tag also appeared on the other. So this was the same person running both of these scans, same client signature. Yeah. What the data shows. Source countries skew heavily to Brazil. So what happens is a lot of these Brazilian devices get compromised. It's like a lot of like Wi-Fi routers and crap, right? And so then like these edge devices in Brazil get compromised and then they get added to this botnet. So 73% of the IPs were from Brazil. And then the United States was the only target. So someone rented these access to the devices in Brazil to send this traffic, sent it to the U.S. Multi-pronged behavior. The same IPs were also flagged as open proxy scanners and web crawlers consistent with multi-purpose toolkits. Separately but potentially relevant, on August 22nd, Greenhouse observed a spike in scanning for open proxies. So someone's up to something. Back to school exposure. The timing may not be accidental. August 21st sits squarely in the U.S. Damn it, my monitor went out again. Okay, guys, I got to stop using my iPad as my monitor. August 21st sits squarely in the U.S. back to school window when the universities K through 12 bring RDP-backed labs remote access online and onboard thousands of new accounts. These environments often use predictable username formats, student IDs, first name, last name, making enumeration more effective. Combined with budget constraints and a priority on accessibility during enrollment, exposure could spike. Interesting. I'm going to be really interested if over the next few weeks we see a major school breach due to this. This is basically recon work, right? Campaigns U.S. Only targeting aligns with the calendar. Education and IT teams should have hardened RDP now and watch for follow-up activity from this same client signature. So they find endpoints and then they test for these timing flaws, checking if authentication workflows leak information via timing that lets an attacker infer valid usernames. Enumeration, confirming accounts on exposed systems so later credential stuffing or password spraying or brute force has a much higher chance of success. Yeah, I'm going to be super interested if we just watched the recon leg of the next wave of attack. Because, yeah, completely agree. The U.S. education system is not equipped to handle whatever's coming here. RDP has been leveraged by threat actors in the past to conduct espionage, deploy ransomware. Yeah, I mean, it's RDP. Yeah, it's RDP. RDP is RDP. All right, interesting. 100% recon, not treading so lightly. Yeah, agreed. That's wild, though. That they rented 2,000 IPs, and then I guess it worked, right? Because they tripled down. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your favorite color? 10. Um, 10 is the correct answer. I know, for sure. All right, this is wild. All right, cool. I'm just about at 2 hours streaming. I think I'll probably call it. I got some meetings to round up the day, so I'm gonna go grab some lunch. Thanks for hanging. I literally, you know what's really funny? Since this is the first time doing this on Streamlabs, I have no idea. Oh, there it is. End stream. I was like, I do not know how to end the stream. See you, Canada. Good luck with the Citrix.